You walk into the room, and every single group already looks like it's been friends since birth. There's laughing happening somewhere near the drinks table. Someone's doing a hand gesture so big it probably has its own zip code. And you're standing at the entrance doing that thing where you check your phone for a notification you know doesn't exist just so your hands have a job. Here's the question nobody actually answers honestly. How are you supposed to socialize with an entire room of strangers when your brain is currently convinced the walls are more interesting than any human in it? Stick with me, because by the end of this, walking into a room where you know absolutely nobody is going to feel less like a threat and more like a game you already know how to win. There are 5 things socially magnetic people do without even realizing it, and none of them require you to suddenly become the funniest person alive. I'm going to show you all 5 using one actual night because you'll remember it a lot longer than a list. Number 1, get momentum. I showed up to this thing knowing exactly one person who disappeared 4 minutes in to say hi to someone real quick and never came back. Classic. So there I was by the drinks table, nursing a glass of water like it was a full-time job, watching everyone else mid-laugh at jokes I wasn't part of. Here's the mistake I was making without even realizing it. My brain was scanning the whole room like it was casting a movie, looking for the single most interesting person to talk to. Which feels smart in the moment. It's actually just a really convincing way to stay stuck at the door, because while you're auditioning the room, everyone else is already 3 sentences deep into a conversation. Then I noticed a guy nearby who clearly wasn't stuck like me. He'd already worked half the room, laughing with one group, waving at another, and had just stepped away to grab a drink. I didn't think this guy could change my night. I thought he's right here and he looks easy to talk to. I said something forgettable about the drink selection. Turns out easy to talk to and knows everyone are usually the same person. 20 minutes later, he'd walked me around to 4 different conversations like I'd been at the party the whole time. None of that happens if I'm still standing by the drinks table waiting for the right person to appear. One of the people he introduced me to was a woman named Priya, and what happens next is the reason any of it actually stuck. Number 2, learn and use names. Here's what almost everyone does the second someone tells them their name. Nothing. I'm Priya, nice to meet you. And by the time she finishes her next sentence, that name is already gone because you weren't really listening. You were busy loading up what you wanted to say next. So instead, I held on to it. So how do you know people here, Priya? That's the whole move. Small, almost embarrassingly simple, but something shifted in how she talked to me after that. Not dramatic, just a little warmer, a little more open. Because most people go through an entire party feeling like background characters in everyone else's night, and the second you hand their name back to them, they feel like they actually showed up as a person instead of a name tag. That one sentence is the reason 20 minutes later, when the conversation drifted toward the food table, Priya pulled me over to meet someone else entirely, a guy mid-rant about restoring a vintage lawnmower of all things. Number 3, talk to everyone. Be curious. Here's where I almost blew it. My brain took one look at guy talking about lawnmowers and quietly filed him under not worth my time, which is the exact trap that kills momentum without you ever noticing it happening. Because the second you start sorting a room into people worth talking to and people who aren't, you've turned a party into a job interview, and now you're just standing around waiting for your future best friend to magically appear while ignoring literally everyone in the building. So instead of asking myself, do I like this guy, I asked, what's actually interesting here? 40 minutes and one genuinely unhinged lawnmower restoration story later, he mentioned his sister was around somewhere, and she is, to this day, one of my closest friends. You cannot predict which conversation leads where. The people who end up mattering most rarely show up wearing a sign that says, pay attention to me. Number 4, say yes. Somewhere around this point, someone announced they needed help moving a table so people could dance, and all instinct in me said, not my problem. I don't even know these people. I said yes anyway, and that's when I noticed something. Nobody at that table was performing. Nobody was trying to think of something clever to say. We were just 4 strangers lifting a table, which sounds like nothing, but doing a slightly annoying task together removes the exact pressure that makes small talk feel like small talk in the first place. You're not being interviewed, you're just getting something done, and somehow that's when people actually relax enough to be real. The people who struggle socially usually aren't doing anything wrong. They just say, "No, I'm good," to every one of these tiny invitations without realizing that's exactly where the connection was hiding the whole time. Number 5, protect your energy at all costs. Later that night, I hit the point every introvert eventually hits. The tank was empty, and every cell in my body wanted to disappear into my phone in the corner. Here's the thing I only half understood at the start of the night and fully understood by the end. The second you pull your phone out, you're not just resting, you're putting up an invisible sign that says, "Do not approach," and your own energy drains along with it. So instead of hiding, I just moved, got a drink, looked at the string lights someone clearly spent way too long hanging, stood like a person who is open to being talked to instead of furniture waiting to be ignored. 2 minutes later, someone walked up to me completely unprompted, just because I looked like I wanted to be there. By the end of the night, the guy who'd first walked me around found me by the door and said, "You good? You've basically taken over this party." Which was funny because 4 hours ago, I was the one holding a cup like a shield, doing math in my head about how long was socially acceptable to stay before leaving. Nothing about me had changed over those 4 hours. I hadn't gotten funnier or louder or more interesting. I just stopped waiting at the door for the room to feel safe before I let myself move into it. So that's the whole night. Get momentum instead of waiting for the perfect person. Learn names like their currency because they are. Get curious about everyone instead of filtering strangers. Say yes to the small, unglamorous stuff because that's where connection quietly lives. And protect your energy because a phone in your hand is the fastest way to disappear from a room you're still standing in. Nobody walks into a room full of strangers feeling confident. The people who look like they do aren't fearless, they've just stopped waiting to feel ready before they move. So here's what I want you to actually do. The next event you go to where you know nobody, pick just one of these 5 and use it on purpose. Drop a comment below. Which one will you be using? I'm Sam, and I'll be reading every single one of your comments. If this video helped you, subscribe for more videos that will help you become better every day.